welcome to June 2nd, 2015. This is Wayne Goldsboro Television. I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best. Good morning. Glad to have you with us.
All right. Hope you're doing well today.
That's right. We've got all kinds of events happening. The Arts Council is a busy
Really?
place. Goldsboro Family Wide, Parks and Recreation.
That's exactly right. So if you're looking for something to do, there's all kinds of stuff.
And summer
to do.
camps.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty in our community. Lots and lots.
Lots.
We'll share some of them with you as we go through today.
That sounds good.
Now, you had some blood drives yesterday that we had to quickly run through, but we do want to mention those again.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's mention that.
All right, please do.
We have a blood drive coming up. Let's see now. We have a blood drive coming up on the 9th, which is a week from today.
Okay.
9th, beginning at 1:30 at the Red Cross office on North George Street. That's at 600 North George, right there at the railroad tracks. That one begins at 1:30. And then the Wayne County employees, we have our blood drive on June 11th, which is a Thursday, and that will also be at the Red Cross office at North George. Wayne Memorial Hospital will have a blood drive, and Wayne Memorial Hospital will also have a blood drive. Well, I mean, it's on here twice.
I said, didn't you just say that?
One begins at 7:30 that morning, and then the second one begins at noon o'clock p.m.
Okay. And anyone can attend.
Yeah.
And give blood.
Open to the public. That's Friday, June 12th.
And when they're at the American Red Cross home building,
yes,
they're open to the public as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we have a blood drive on the 11th for county employees.
That's
but
right.
if you wanted to give blood on that day, you're more than welcome.
Fantastic.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And you've had Tammy Forrester in here quite a few times.
I have. Tammy has been promoted and moved up the line, and we miss Tammy. She just does such a great job for the Red Cross and for Wayne County, Goldsboro and Wayne County community. And she's doing a great job.
Right.
But she's moved up, and we have other folks in from the Red Cross.
Well, we'll get them in.
Out. Yeah. We miss Tammy, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about a few things happening at the Arts Council.
Okay.
Let's see. They're having an art exhibit. It's called Art Comes in All Shapes and Sizes.
Okay.
This one is called the Teeny Tiny Art Show.
Teeny Tiny.
It is. Great
Ooh.
art isn't always the biggest and most massive piece in the room. So we're gearing up to showcase the smaller masterpieces. The Arts Council is hosting their first Teeny Tiny Art Show, and we're calling for submissions now. So if you're an artist, be aware anything that can be entered as long as it fits the dimensions of 4 by 4 by 4.
Huh?
4 by 4 by 4.
4 by 4.
4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches.
4 inches by 4?
Yes. That's right. Teeny Tiny Art Show.
Teeny Tiny Art Show. Okay.
They welcome all types of media: acrylic, oil, clay, glass, wood, fabric, photo, paper, etc.
Etc.
Etc. We're calling for all artists in the area at any level of experience, even children. The only requirement is that every piece have to be available for purchase.
Ah, you got to sell it.
That's right. Entries will be accepted from June 1st through the 3rd, so you only have through tomorrow, 9 to 5, and then there'll be an opening reception on June 5th from 5 until 8.
Okay.
Visit their website, artsinwayne.org, to find out more about it.
Oh,
that's going to be interesting.
That is going to be interesting.
That would be great for a child if they were a developing artist and they had made some smaller art pieces to be able to showcase them. That'd be great.
That does sound like fun. So use your imagination.
That's exactly
and if you don't have an imagination,
just go to the opening reception and look at other people that do.
Yeah, that's so.
There you go.
So good. She's so good. That's exactly right.
What you got?
Well, I don't know. I don't have an imagination. I have the. Oh yeah, I just read that. Birthdays. One of my favorite actors. He always played, or most of the time, played a bad guy. His name is Bruce Dern. That's Laura's dad.
Yes.
Bruce
Dern
he
does play bad.
Oh, he is
bad
amazing. He is so talented. Bruce Dern is 79 years today. Parker Stevenson.
Yes.
He was on the Hardy Boys. He was Steve on Melrose Place, and he was Craig somebody on Baywatch. He's 63 years today, and he was married to
63.
63. Can you believe that?
He was married to Kirstie Alley at
yes,
one time.
Yes, he was. I believe he was. Yeah. Eddie Velez is celebrating. He's 57. Scott Wolf, 47. Horatio Sands was Mr. Peterson on Are We There Yet? And he's done various things on Saturday Night Live. He is 46 today. Noah Weil.
I remember him.
Yeah, Dr. John Carter on or ER. Yeah, ever how you spell it. And then he was Tom Mason on Falling Skies, 44 today. Angelina Jolie.
How old is she turning today?
She is 40.
40 is all?
40 is all, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
I know she looks a lot older.
Yeah, right. Well, I believe it may be time to go to our interviews.
is
Have
it
you got
really?
anybody else
No,
that we need to
no, who
give
cares?
a shout out to?
No, shout out. Let's do this.
All right, we'll be back in just a
Roll
moment.
the film. Well, back in the studio with us today is Brantley Partin, who's director of the Wayne County Museum. Hey, man.
How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so glad you're here. Every time you come in, you bring some fantastic stuff with you. And I tell us, for anyone who hasn't caught your interviews just yet, tell us about the museum. Where are you and what are you?
116 North William Street on the corner of William and Mulberry, right next to the post office. And we're open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 4.
11 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a museum, and that means you have a lot of stuff in there to look at.
Local history.
Local history.
Wayne County's history. We try and keep it to that, although sometimes it bleeds over into other things. But we try and keep it mostly local. Try and hopefully get the word out, people to start learning about their history and that it's not all about the big things. Sometimes down at the local level, sometimes gets forgotten, and that's why we're there.
You know, that is so true, and anyone who has walked through that museum can certainly understand what you mean by that, because there's a lot of fascinating items and artifacts in there. And for those of you who have not been to the museum or maybe new to the Wayne County area, you can stop yawning right now, because I'll tell you, there's everything in there imaginable, from weapons to antique weapons to Hollywood connections. There's a lot of Hollywood in there.
We do. We have a lot of Hollywood connections. We've got, Civil War, World War I, which we'll look at a little bit today. It's a wide variety, and I'm in the process of moving some stuff around with some new exhibits, and we've got the streetscape objects, which are coming up from Center Street. I'm slowly starting to put that out on display, starting to add as I get new cases and clean them up and get them ready. I'm putting new objects out. So we've got it's a lot of new things that are coming up, and I'm always discovering stuff buried in the back in storage, things that hadn't been seen in a long time. Actually, both of the things here I brought with me today were things that were, I shouldn't say forgotten or lost, but they were way back in a dark corner, and I pulled them out, and they've been on display for a while now.
So we're talking about artifacts that are well over 100 years old, or right at 100
Yeah, the
years.
two I brought today, they'll be 100 years old in a couple of years, and stuff even older than that. But yeah, it's scattered. We've got nooks and crannies all over that building, full of just spilling over
All
with stuff.
kinds of stuff. Now, for anyone who may be interested in this, or even may not, let me tell you, this is interesting stuff, because Goldsboro has played a very unique place in history, American history, since the Revolutionary War.
We've got some history going. Well, Wayne County's got history going back to the Revolutionary War. Goldsboro wasn't here yet.
Goldsboro wasn't here. Waynesboro was.
Waynesboro was here, and that town disappeared off the map. They drug everything over to Goldsboro in the 1840s, and Goldsboro was important because of the railroad. That made it hugely important, and then eventually the town got sick of the railroad and got rid of it.
Got rid of it, yeah. And by the way, anyone interested in ghosts may still find a ghost or two over at Waynesboro.
I've heard that.
Well, we'll talk to Thomas about that.
Ask Thomas Bailey.
Thomas Bailey knows all about it. But anyway, that's beside the point. I don't want to get off track here with speculation. But we want to talk about, you have some things from the Hollowell family. Tell about Zeno Hollowell, right?
Zeno Hollowell, there are a lot of Hollowells.
There's a lot of Hollowells.
And I don't know how he fits in with the bigger Hollowell clan. But Zeno Hollowell was born in Goldsboro in the late 1800s. He joined the National Guard. The National Guard was a pretty new organization when he joined in the early teens, I think. And then for World War I, the North Carolina National Guard was federalized and turned into the 30th Division. And because he had experience in the National Guard, he was an officer and became a captain and was a company commander. So he commanded anywhere from 100 to 120 men, and they were on the front lines in 1918 and saw some some of the worst fighting of the war.
So they were in Europe in 1918 on the
They were
line.
in France fighting against stiff German resistance. The Germans at this point, when America came into the war, you had the trench warfare, and neither side really wanted. They were just demoralized. And when the Americans got there, their commander, General Pershing, was convinced that American troops were superior, and he sort of kicked the British and the French in the butt and said, "We're going to take this out of the trenches." I don't know if American troops were necessarily superior, but they were new and they were fresh and they were ready to go, and it helped it was a big part in winning the war.
And they believed what Blackjack Pershing was saying.
He
said, "You guys are the best."
He told them they were the best, and they believed that they were the
Yes.
best. Even though when the war began, before the war, the U.S. military was only somewhere around 25,000 men, I think I read.
Yeah.
It was tiny.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly small force. By the end of the war, they had mobilized 4 million.
Wow.
I think about half of those were sent over to Europe.
Wow.
So it was just incredible. And people like Zeno Hollowell were incredibly important because they had military experience.
Yeah.
And there were so few men that actually had experience, and then the war was already going on, so they didn't have a long time to train them. They needed guys that could, you could send over there and you knew they knew what they were doing.
That's right. That's right. So he went in with the experience, and they immediately put him in charge of a bunch of men.
Yeah,
and it went from there. Now, we have some photographs, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look. We're going to take a look at a photograph. The first one is a photograph of what's titled as a Hollowell reunion.
It was a company reunion. They held these almost every year up until sometime in the 1950s. Guys slowly started getting older, dying off.
Now, which one there is Zeno Hollowell?
He is in the center and sitting, holding his
With
hat.
hat.
And you can tell he was the boss, and these are his men. All the men around him were, I think all of them were non-commissioned officers, so sergeants. The man on the right was the cook.
The guy leaning.
Yeah, the guy on the far right, I think he was the company's cook. But they were his right-hand men, some of his right-hand men out in the field. And like I said, they met, and all these men were from North Carolina.
Okay.
I think the closest one of the men was from Wilson, if I remember correctly. But they were all, probably all of these guys had been National Guard as well, more than likely. Like I said, the U.S. was desperate for troops, and National Guard troops were.
All right. And about when was this taken? Do you have any idea?
This would have been a little bit after World War II, so probably 47, 48.
So they all got together and had this picture made for.
Yeah, and like I said, as many of them as could get together. I've got some group photos where you've got as many as 30 or 40 men that would reunite. And I've got pictures of Zeno with some others from the 50s. There's actually one I have in the museum of him standing at the old National Guard Armory on Jefferson, which is now, I think, the Housing Authority. And they're probably 70 or 80 men standing out in front of the National Guard building, and Zeno Hollowell is right in the center. They always put him in the center because he was the boss, during the war.
All right. Well, let's take a look at another shot here of a picture that was made, and this was actually taken during the war. Is that right?
Just before the war, I think it was. This was his National Guard service, and it was either training or it was down in El Paso, Texas. The National Guard was sent down to the Mexican border. The Mexican Civil War was going on, and that's where Pancho Villa came across the border and raided Columbus, New Mexico. Regular Army troops like Pershing and George Partin, actually, that was as a young officer, they were sent over the border. National Guard troops were sent to the border, and this might have been down there.
I love the boots.
Those are called, some of the wraps are called puttees. P-U-T-T-E-E, I think. I think it had something going back to when you rode horses. I think after World War I, it was one of those that they dropped it. It had no real use, I don't think.
Okay, well, it may have been when you ride the putty horse.
But they look, and that's when you can tell it's World War I. Usually, when you see guys that have those wrappings around the, above the boots.
Very interesting. Well, at least there he has all his hair. He's a nice looking guy. You need to, you know. It's
Yep,
just,
smoking a cigarette, which
yeah?
back then,
Very popular. Yeah. All right, very good. Well, let's take a look now at the next photograph. Let's move on over to the next one there, if you will, please. And we'll see. Now, what is this one? Oh,
Yeah,
I recognize that
yeah,
location.
Later in life, after the war, Zeno came back to Goldsboro. He served one term as mayor in the 20s, and then he became city manager. And he was city manager from the 20s up until the 50s. He died in 58, and he was city manager up until, I think, 57.
Wow.
And this is from 27 or 28, and this is Center Street being paved for the very first time.
Center Street being paved.
Yep, and then the group of men on the right hand, the man in the middle of that group is Zeno Hollowell. I'm not sure about the others, probably city officials, and then you've got the guy on the left who was one of the workmen.
Yeah, and you know, you pointed out to me a little while ago, it's interesting that the workmen, and in fact, this was standard. This was a protocol back at this time, in the 20s and 30s. This workman, working concrete, was wearing a shirt and tie.
Yeah, he's got overalls
and
on, but still got a tie and a fedora
and wearing his
on.
fedora hat. Interesting.
Yep, and I've got other pictures like that from that time period. Guys doing manual labor, but still wearing button-up shirts and...
We had to wear a tie.
Yeah, I don't think it would go over well if the city or the county made guys wear ties today.
No.
I don't think they'd like
No.
that.
All right, well, looking at the cars in the background there, what year would you say this is approximately about?
Late 20s. I think the tracks were torn up in 27, and I'm pretty sure they paved sometime after that. So
Okay.
Between the cars and that, I would say 27 or 28.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple of 28s, maybe a 30 back there, but I think it's 28, 29, 27,
Yeah,
28,
and it's
in
interesting,
that range.
the pictures I have going back a few years when cars first started to come on the scene, you can see in this picture they're lined up pretty well. As you go back in time, the cars were just all over Center Street. They parked it because cars were new, and it was still... We take that for granted today when you park in a parking lot. You just know how cars fit in. Back then, they, just lining the street, right in the middle of the street. I've got pictures of cars, just parked right in the middle because they were still figuring that out.
There was no standard. There was no protocol.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand it. Very interesting. Well, so that is very interesting. Now, so Zeno Hollowell, city manager up until about 1957. He passed away in 58.
58, and he's buried out at Willowdale.
He is.
Yep, and he sure is with his wife.
Off Elm Street.
Yep, he sure is. He's buried there, and there are a lot of other World War I veterans that served in the same division right near him.
Really?
Nobody directly under him, but guys in other companies in the 119th Infantry Regiment that are nearby in the cemetery.
Now, you brought some artifacts of Zeno Hollowell's on camera 3 here on the table. Now, let's take a look at some of these and see what we have here. What is this? This card here?
Is
that his picture?
That's his ID card from the war, and so he had to carry that with him. Now on the front lines, I don't know, they asked for your ID, but when he was behind the line, that was something you had to carry with, just like you carry your driver's license today. That's how, you could say who you were, and if you were asked, you could show that.
All right, now, we're looking at his ID card here, again. What else can you tell? It says here he was a captain.
He was a captain. He served, the American forces were called the American Expeditionary Force. That's the name they gave to it. Like I said, they were the military was tiny, and when the war started, when we got in, it expanded rapidly, so they decided to give it the name the American Expeditionary Force.
Okay.
And the 30th Division was actually technically was under British control. They were spun off, and so their immediate superiors were British generals.
Okay, and let's take a look now at this. What is this? This book here?
And they still, I think, give these out today, but as a third or fourth or fifth option. It's a message book.
Message book.
And so this is what he used in the field as the shots were, as the artillery was going overhead. This is what he had to use to get messages back. He would have a runner. And that guy's job was to take his messages and run them back to the headquarters that would be behind the lines.
Well, wasn't that something that was used a couple of thousand years ago?
Yeah, and they were
Okay.
still, now in World War I, they did have, they could lay some, you had some telegraph lines and stuff like that, but as far as I know, no audio communication, no radio, nothing
Yeah.
like that. They did have carrier pigeons.
Yes, they did.
And they were actually fairly successful. But for most guys, for most company commanders, it was a good old-fashioned message book, and this is what he had to use to get the message out, and he had to communicate with all the other company commanders.
And they help you get started here with the sample message.
The Army would give them a sample message. Now, guys didn't use it. I've noticed some of the fields, on the form.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in the war, in a war zone, you
don't
use it.
you don't stop and say,
yeah,
well, now what do I put
you need
here?
to fill it out. So there are a lot of the messages in here are don't have everything filled out. And a lot of it's is broken up into phrases here and there, a lot of military jargon.
Right.
So some of it I've had trouble understanding exactly what he's trying to say.
Well, we can read part of this right now. It says, do not carry what?
Do not carry helmet, gas mask, bayonet, ammunition, or rifle. Carry white flags.
I wonder why you'd have to carry a white flag.
I'm not sure. They never surrendered, but it could have been at the bottom of the message. He talks about they were moving up to a river to scout territory, so it might have been the white flags were a way so that they didn't get shot at.
Maybe semaphore. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, there was no radio communication, so
Yeah.
the white flags were probably a way that if you were out scouting ahead of the line, that was a way to tell your own guys,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
don't shoot at me.
Okay, there's Bob. He's over there. See the white flag?
Because he
That's
says
where-
that, don't take any of your gear. So
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, he mentioned something about scouting territory by a bridge. So that's what I'm figuring is that it was a big flashing light saying, please don't
Wow.
shoot us.
All right. Well, that makes sense then. That's what this book was used for. Very good. All right, Brantley. The museum is open from 11 until 4,
Tuesday through Saturday.
Tuesday through Saturday. And you're where again?
116 North William, corner of William and Mulberry.
All right. And you have this and all kinds of goodies in there.
I have a lot of, I'm always pushing the World War I stuff. I've got other stuff of Zenos and some other local veterans, David Prince, Brody West, who lived until 1970, and then Gaston Dortch, who actually died, was killed in the war about a month before the war ended.
You have some of his things.
I have a picture, actually have a picture of his grave in France. He was buried over there. He's got a
Oh.
marker at Willowdale, but he was killed by an artillery shell. Like I said, a lot of guys, sadly, there's another man named Sidney Henson who's buried out at Willowdale, who was killed several weeks before the war ended. Some of the fiercest fighting was towards the end, and so some guys, sadly, they made it all that way through all that fighting, and then just a few weeks before the armistice, they were killed. But we've got a lot of things from World War I on display, and it's at the 100-year anniversary, and in
That's right.
a couple years it'll be the 100-year anniversary of the American entrance into the war.
1917.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal war.
It was a brutal war, and I'm interested in it because a lot of people the Civil War, and then they skip right to World War II. And World War I was a incredibly important event, and there are a lot of local connections, and so I like trying to tell people a little bit about that because a lot of people don't really, you don't hear much about World War I these days, which is kind of sad. Most of the movies are either Civil War or they're World War II, and they sort of skip right over that.
All right. Brantley, what's the phone number over at the museum?
919-734-5023.
734-5023. Our guest has been Brantley Partin. He's the director of the Wayne County Museum on North William Street here in Goldsboro. And, buddy, I appreciate you coming in. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much now. We are back on Wayne Goldsboro Television. Thank you for being with us. Today is Tuesday, and this morning at 8 o'clock, which is not that far from right now if you're watching the morning program,
That's right.
the Wayne County Commissioners begin their briefing at 8 a.m. in the County Commissioners meeting room on the 4th floor of the Wayne County Courthouse. Then at 9 o'clock, they begin their regular meeting.
That's right. City Council Oh my goodness, I cannot speak this morning. City Council had their meeting last night. If you weren't able to be there, just know that it will be showing throughout the day today and the remainder of the week.
That's right, here on Channel 10 or
exactly right.
99 or 97.6, whatever you're watching. We appreciate that very much. Yes, and keeping that in mind, today is the 2nd. Today is, do we have a Cobra problem? Today is Yell Fudge at the Cobras in North America Day. I remember that somebody came up with an idea that at noon on this day, June 2nd, yell fudge, and then that keeps the Cobras out of North America. And apparently it's working.
Never heard of such.
Oh, really? You haven't heard of that?
Never heard of that.
Okay, what? Well, okay, you never heard of that. If you yell fudge at noon today, just one time, the Cobras, if there are any here, they leave, and if there are any trying to get in, they don't.
If you say so.
Hey.
You don't make this stuff up?
No, I don't make this stuff up. Are you kidding? I'm a serious guy. I mean, I'm a serious guy.
I know you are.
Today is also National Bubba Day. See how serious I am?
Yes.
I mean, who else would have come up with that?
Yes, I do. Anything else special going on today?
No, there's nothing special at all. It's just June the Tooth.
All right, well, let's talk about this then. Everybody has probably, if you live inside the city limits, you have probably seen that our sanitation department has gone to an automated solid waste pickup.
Yes.
As of now, as of June 1st and 2nd,
Right now.
there will be stickers put on your trash receptacle if things aren't done following the rules. So we want to pay attention to the rules. Now, this is a black and white copy of a brochure that is on the city's website that has also been sent to people in their water bill. There's also been letters sent. If you are having any changes made with your trash pickup day, only 5% of our customers had a change of what day their trash would be picked up.
Okay.
Only 5%.
Only 5%.
But that 5% got a letter in the mail.
Okay.
And they also got a brochure in color that told them details.
Okay.
What we basically need to do to remember, because I try to tell myself this as well, is with your trash can, you roll it to the road, your trash receptacle, roll it to the road, make sure the opening is facing the street.
Okay.
Make sure there is 3 feet all the way around the trash receptacle. Why are you laughing at me? 3 feet around the trash receptacle.
You're so serious.
I know. So when the automated truck comes by, the arm that goes out and the claw that picks up the trash receptacle has enough room that it will not hit anything else, or they won't be able to pick up your solid waste.
No, I'm sitting here laughing, but this is serious because if you don't follow the rules, you'll either be fined eventually,
Or your trash won't be picked
or
up.
your trash won't be picked up.
And we don't want any of that.
No.
They're
especially-
easy rules. Easy rules.
Yeah, so just...
But it's because now we've gone to a more efficient way of solid waste pickup. They're using the automated trucks, which has the one driver and no one on the back of the truck, so it's much safer for the employees.
I said you'd be fined. I don't know if you'll be fined, but your trash won't be picked up, that's for sure.
Right.
So get your trash picked up. So just follow the rules.
Now, like I said, remember it's just taking your trash receptacle out, have the opening facing the street, and 3 feet around it of no mailboxes, no cars, no other trash
Utility poles,
receptacles,
anything
no
like that.
poles.
Yeah.
You need 3 feet around it opening so people can, the solid waste truck can pick up your trash
That's right.
in a timely manner.
And what do I know? I live in the county. What do I know? I don't know anything.
I don't know.
I don't
If
know.
you want to find out more information and details and even print off the brochure, you can go to goldsboronc.gov, look under departments, and go straight to Public Works.
That
and
works.
You can find out more information.
That works.
There's even a search bar on there now. You can put your address and hit search, and it'll show you exactly what day your trash is supposed to be picked up, about what time your trash is picked up, those kinds of details. So if you're unsure, go to the city's website.
City's website /refuse. Is that
Yeah,
it?
you can go there as well.
Okay, you can go there as well.
goldsboronc.gov/refuse.
REFUSE.
Yep. There's
All right.
several different ways to get to it.
Yeah.
There you go. I guess that is a wrap for today.
I guess it is.
Have
So
a happy Tuesday.
I hope you do, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and then we'll have a happy Wednesday.
That's exactly
all right.
right.
So while we're having a happy Wednesday and all that, join us right here tomorrow. We'll be here at 7 a.m., then again at noon, then again at 5:30 p.m. For Wayne Goldsboro Television, I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best, and this is what's happening in your community.